Well, don't stop. All right. Okay, first and foremost, let's set the tone for the statement in the free speech spirit from which PGMN was built. Ready? Zoom in. Closer. On behalf of my family, on behalf of everyone at PGMN, and on behalf of the entire Philippines, fuck Martin Romualdez. Secondly, as is the case for all honest anti-Romualdez posts on social media these days, this PGMN episode will be hit by a big troll farm again. Locked profiles with no posts, no friends, no pictures, accounts all created last week. Why? Because Martin is finally in real trouble with the Ombudsman and wants to make sure that anyone who speaks out against him now will be attacked by a call center of hateful ogres. But we know you're not naive. You were not born yesterday. You know to look at the substance of the content itself rather than the haha reactions and hateful comments from empty accounts with no profiles, remembering what the actual point of this whole thing is. What is the point of this whole thing? It's that the biggest problem in the Philippines is and has always been corruption. And the most corrupt politician of the 21st century is Martin Romualdez. We'll discuss this thoroughly later in this video, so stay till the end. For now, let it be known that he's relentlessly trying to silence us. He's trying to silence PGMN. Don't let him silence you. Thirdly, before we talk about Romualdez and the case, I want to talk about PGMN. I built Peanut Gallery Media Network for a specific reason. I come from the social media generation who endured the full weight of the censorship industrial complex during the height of the malicious Western woke movement from 2017 through the pandemic and all the way until Trump was reelected in 2024. During that period, if you said anything even remotely odd, controversial, comedic, irreverent, or rebellious about gender, immigration, abortion, COVID, Hillary, Biden, Kamala, radical feminism, climate, BLM, Russia, China, transgender sports, transgender minors, veganism, socialism, communism, Zionism, or any of the hypersensitive woke issues that were deemed off limits, you were silenced by every major social media platform, especially Facebook and Twitter. That era was hideously authoritarian. 3 or 4 dozen very young, very weak, tyrannical nerds in Silicon Valley sat behind their computers, massaging their flaccid egos, arrogantly thinking that they had the moral authority to determine what billions of people around the world were allowed to say out loud. It was disgusting. Mainstream social platforms became so aggressively woke that not only could you not give your honest political opinion, you couldn't even crack a joke. It was a terrible time for freedom of speech. Then, in 2022, as I got out of rehab to finally get sober after being a cocaine addict for almost 20 years, the great Elon Musk bought Twitter, turned it into X, and instantaneously altered political discourse around the world. For the first time in years, people could finally speak freely again without any fear or apprehension of dictatorial woke snowflakes pressing a button to throttle their reach, shadow ban their accounts, or erase them entirely. Moments after his revolutionary purchase, I vividly remember Elon in an interview say this.
Like say, when does free speech matter most? It's when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like. That's when it actually matters.
Free speech only matters when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like. He looked like a man who was willing to die for that idea. That deeply inspired me. It's a quote I'll never forget. And so, 2 years later, I created PGMN. Before we were framed for extortion and the whole thing became a national story, we had 25 anchors in total. 5 anchors were proudly pink, 4 anchors lean DDS, 6 anchors were MAGA, 7 were center-left liberals, 1 anchor is even super woke. The rest don't give a shit about politics. All of us work together well, at least before the scandal blew up in my face. We're self-aware of our biases and we don't hide them from anyone. Most importantly, we all get along like a family because we've discovered that even if our politics oftentimes don't align, the unifying denominator is that we've found a common home in the idea of being able to always speak freely about anything, literally anything, even when we're wrong, even when we're foolish, in so long as we're communicating in good faith. As quite a few of you know, I've been operating at the highest level of national politics and leading some of the most influential national machineries in media for quite a while now. And I can say with an unwavering certainty that we've built something that isn't just uncommon, it's extremely unique. We've also said repeatedly on all our channels that we are not avoiding conflict. We are actively seeking intelligent, articulate, authentic, amazing people with differing political views and opinions. This is precisely and entirely what PGMN is all about. This is why PGMN was created. This is what we hope PGMN will always be. Moreover, it needs to be said that our anchors are independent. They have never been under contract. They are not on a monthly PGMN payroll. They are not employees. They are not assigned stories they do not want to do. They are not told what positions to take. They keep full editorial control over their own segments, their own opinions, and their own publishing cadence. Each anchor, upon engaging PGMN, was promised one thing: a platform to say whatever they want in whichever way they want, in so long as what they say is legal and honest. Literally free speech absolutism. They have no routine schedules, no quotas to hit in terms of content output, no standard newsroom deliverables, and the freedom to come to work quite literally whenever they want. In return, our anchors receive two things: the highest quality of video content excellence and guaranteed virality. 18 months later, we hit 1 billion views collectively across all platforms. We have undeniably impacted culture. We have consistently influenced government legislation. We have gotten multiple corrupt officials to resign, and we have literally altered election results. At our current pace, we will easily hit 2 billion views in the next 6 months. That is how PGMN was able to achieve anything between 1/3 to 1/4 of the monthly social media engagement of many of the big legacy media companies that have been around for decades at less than 1% of their monthly OPEX, and by boosting less than 2% of all of our posts. That is not a recent recharacterization. That is how PGMN was built from the start, with that specific strategy in mind. And it worked. I built PGMN this way deliberately. The kind of journalism and commentary this country needs: sharp, fearless, accountable, and we will prove in court that we understand what being accountable means, cannot be produced by anchors taking orders from a corporate assignment desk. It can only be produced by real industry experts who chose off their own free will to publish on a platform that gives them the production infrastructure and the audience reach to do their work at scale. What PGMN provides: the studios, the world-class editing, the strategies, the cutting-edge AI native production stack, the multi-platform distribution system, the rabid, faithful audience, a network infrastructure design unprecedented in Philippine media, and the best young social media team the country has ever produced. What our anchors provide: their voice, their judgment, their reporting, their varied specializations, their reputation, their decisions about what is worth covering and what is not, their expertise, and their excellence. There are a lot of things you can criticize us for. Yes, we may have been mean at times. We may have been too anti-woke. We may have been perhaps a bit rude to the haters in our comments. And maybe, and this is just in terms of the editorial, not the videos of the anchors themselves, but maybe we made the strategic decision to never criticize Bongbong Marcos, Sara Duterte, or Leni Robredo. But do you know what PGMN has never done? PGMN has never lied. I challenge the haters in our comments to find, in our 18 to 19 months that we've been publishing, to find any piece of content wherein you can prove that we maliciously lied about anything. Yeah, we made mistakes for sure, and we've happily and I think consistently corrected any of those mistakes, all of them, I think. But we've never maliciously lied. We never outright went out of our way to lie about anything. And I think the supermajority of the people who follow us can attest to that. The people who follow us, especially the people who are assessing in good faith, they know what's up. Fourth, regarding this whole alleged extortion case, there's nothing I want more than to tell you my side of the story. Nothing. I don't think it's possible to comprehensively explain how painful it is to know you're innocent, to have in your hands and your lawyer's hands all the tangible, indisputable evidence that will prove your innocence, and yet to have to muster the daily strength and restraint to withhold all legal information. Right now, I don't have the emotional or the psychological luxury to care whether you believe me or not. I'm just saying that holding my tongue in this moment and under these circumstances is easily one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. The very first thing the good judge said at our first court appearance is that because of the tremendous public interest in this case, to not discuss any elements of the case publicly. I fully intend on respecting her wishes. What I can say is that so far, by every conceivable metric, and I mean this sincerely, is that in my opinion, the judge has come across as fair and honest. And because of that, I am confident we will win. Fifth and lastly, let's talk about Martin Romualdez. Why is Romualdez doing this? That I can tell you. The former speaker is in the most precarious and unstable position of his life. He feels desperate and unsafe because he is finally in real legal danger. Let me explain. 6 weeks ago, the country was set ablaze with this one headline. Zaldico arrested in the Czech Republic. He was set to be shipped back home to the Philippines. What did Romualdez do? Do you remember? He panicked. He tried to leave the country. He said he had to go to Singapore for his heart condition. He was gonna run like a little bitch. The Office of the Ombudsman courageously and correctly blocked his flight. Boying Remulia's exact words, accurately translated. I tried to say this in Tagalog, but I couldn't. It's just very difficult for me to read in Filipino. But anyway, this is the exact English translation. Open quote. We did not respond favorably to the request that he be allowed to leave. The problem is that it is too extreme of a coincidence that Zaldico was captured and then suddenly Martin Romualdez intends to leave the Philippines. If this sort of behavior is continually allowed, we may lose all the people we're meant to hold on to. All the people who are meant to be made accountable or answerable will escape our jurisdiction. We too have to take care of our rights as a nation. We have a right as Filipinos to tell Martin Romualdez, you cannot leave. And what did Martin do? He panicked again. He did something he never does. He sat in front of a camera just like this and issued a statement. He said, in so many words, I know things about this administration. If I go down, you go down. That's essentially what he said. Now, what has made Martin Romualdez so desperately anxious? There's a lot of things. Apart from his overabundance of powerful enemies wanting to expose his superabundance of crimes, in my opinion, there are two main reasons, and these two reasons are both facts. The first reason is that the first family hates Martin Romualdez. They hate him. I know that many of you in the comments are skeptical of this. There's quite a number of you that think this is all for show, that this is all a ruse, and that the president won't actually go after his cousin. I understand why you think that, but I have it on good authority. I know people who are very close to the president on a personal level. I know people who work at the office of the president, and I know people who work with him on a daily basis on a political level. They all tell me that this resentment is absolutely real. Why? Because they all feel like Martin betrayed them. As a fun side note, I have heard from multiple people that work under him or have worked under him that the richest man in the country, my hero, Enrique Razon, the $14 billion man, also thinks that Martin deserves to go to jail. One, because it's the right thing to do. And number two, it's because it's one of the ways to appease the national political climate. I think he's right. Now, I don't know for certain if this is true, but the sources that I heard this from, who said this directly to me, are very close to Mr. Razon. So I believe him. Second reason, and possibly the most important one, is that the ombudsman, Boying Remulia, who used to be very close to Martin, they're fraternity brothers, and they used to go on vacation together, that sort of thing, they're not okay anymore. They had a falling out. I asked two senators, sitting senators, who were both godfathers of mine at my wedding 2 months ago, to introduce me to Boying, and they both initially hesitated because of the fact that they told me that Boying was very close to Martin, and that might not be a good idea. But upon further investigation from people who work at the DOJ and the Office of the Ombudsman and at the Office of the President in Malacanang, they're all telling me that the feud is real. Boying and Martin are no longer friends. They're not cool anymore. So much so that the prevailing rumor is that Martin is having Boying's movements monitored at the moment. That's why Martin is spooked. That's why, for the first time in the last 3.5 years, the once all-powerful Martin Romualdez is legitimately spooked. Just last May 21, in a radio interview, Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano, who seems to be a really cool guy, said Romualdez's money laundering complaint had already reached the preliminary investigation stage. Clavano accurately called Romualdez the master plunderer. He said that on record. Boying Remulla earlier said the ombudsman was preparing plunder cases against Romualdez in connection with the unbelievable flood control anomalies. The complaints against Romualdez include plunder, direct bribery, indirect bribery, money laundering, and violations of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Prosecutors are saying with their chests that Romualdez is the purported mastermind of a kickback scheme tied to ghost flood control projects with alleged kickbacks reaching approximately 56 billion pesos. The pressure is no longer just political. The Court of Appeals has issued a freeze order covering assets linked to Romualdez, including 25 bank accounts and 10 insurance policies under his name. The order also covered additional bank accounts, insurance policies, an investment account, property accounts, and real estate assets linked to an alleged business associate and a corporate entity. Not enough, in my opinion, because we all know Martin is the kind of guy that hides most of his money under a mattress. And as I mentioned earlier, the Sandigan Bayan also issued a precautionary whole departure order against Romualdez after the ombudsman said it found probable cause that he might leave the country to evade arrest and prosecution. That means the former speaker is now facing 3 layers of legal pressure: covered assets frozen, foreign travel restricted, and a money laundering complaint already under preliminary investigation. Romualdez has denied wrongdoing out of desperation and insists that there is no evidence that proves he committed plunder, conspiracy to commit plunder, or any similar offense. But with the ombudsman probe advancing, his camp is no longer only fighting the allegations. It is also fighting the public weight of a nationwide call to finally hold him accountable for his heinous sins against an entire generation of Filipinos. A call, it seems, that the Office of the Ombudsman intends to heed and honor. Because remember, people literally died because of Martin's corruption. Piecing all that together, at least in my mind, I think that the First Family, specifically President Marcos, is genuine in terms of finally making sure that Martin meets justice for these 4 reasons. Number 1, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's personal. I think that the resentment and the hate is real because the First Family, they feel that Martin betrayed them, and he did. Number 2, it's strategic. I don't see a universe where the administration goes after Sara Duterte for 6 billion pesos and doesn't go after Martin for 200 billion. I think that idea is absurd, and I think magkakagulo yan if the former is executed and the second isn't. Number 3, I think it's optical. In last year's State of the Nation address, BBM went on stage and delivered his now iconic line.
Mahiya naman kayo sa inyong kapwa Pilipino.
Mahiya naman kayo sa mga kapwa niyong Pilipino. For those that, I haven't spoken to BBM in a long time, but for those that are close to him, they all tell me that that was directed at Martin. The State of the Nation address this year is in July. That's in about, as of this taping, that's in about 6 weeks. I think that the best thing that he could do in terms of optics at the moment is to ascertain that the guy that he was referring to last year, at last year's State of the Nation address, is now presented to the country on a silver platter behind bars when he delivers the State of the Nation address around July 13. And lastly, the 4th reason, it's the moral thing to do. You know, BBM is not perfect, but I wouldn't underestimate him choosing to do the right thing in this moment, or at the very least, making sure that the ethics or the morals of this situation is considered, or is at least part of his overall assessment and consideration in terms of making sure that Martin goes to jail. So those 4 things: personal, because there's real resentment; it's strategic, because Sara can't be impeached and then walang mangyayari kay Martin. Number 3, optics, because the sauna is coming up. And number 4, because it's the right thing to do. It's moral. And that is why Martin is going after us. That is why he framed us. He caught wind of the evidence that we have against him. He knows we have the goods on him, and he knows we have more. I'll give you an example. The good people at Rappler and the good people at SMNI, two media companies that are ideologically disaligned in the furthest possible sense. Rappler and SMNI, although they're vastly different in many ways, have consistently maintained their integrity when it comes to going after Martin Romualdez. They didn't succumb or cave to the bayaran tactics of Martin's camp that many of these other mainstream media outlets have completely caved to. And yet, Martin didn't go after Rappler, and Martin didn't go after SMNI. Martin went after PGMN. Why? Last year, before the flood control scandal erupted and blew up into this nationwide firestorm, Mayor Vico Soto and Mayor Benjamin Magalong, both really good mayors, were calling out people, but the only thing they were doing was they were issuing blind items. They were just throwing out blind items. The first people to explicitly call out names within the DPWH for corruption, the very first, were PGMN and my friend CJ Hero. CJ researched, wrote, and published a revolutionary expose on PGMN that fully exposed multiple DPWH executives under then DPWH Secretary, the now shamed and besieged Manny Bonoan. The 5 executives that CJ explicitly called out: Eugenio Pipo, resigned or fired. Ador Canlas, resigned or fired. Loretta Malaluan, resigned or fired. Neri Bueno, resigned or fired. And Catalina Cabral, resigned or fired and now dead. Obviously, the latter part wasn't our intention. Former Congressman Marvin Rillo was exposed also by CJ Hero for his alleged corruption in Quezon City, and he ended up losing his election in 2025 by 0.1%. That margin of victory by Bong Suntay is the closest margin of any congressional candidate in the last 30 years. We did that. Like it or not, PGMN has a legitimate track record for doing this sort of thing extraordinarily effectively. Again, in summary, Romualdez thought they caught Zaldi, realized he was in deep shit, tried to run away, flee to another country, and when he got denied, he couldn't risk anything from blowing up on social media, especially something as destructive as what we had and have in our hands and coming from a source as historically effective as PGMN. Get it? That's when he threw the kitchen sink at us. He hit us with everything. He pressed the apocalypse button, one by one. Framed us with an extortion plot using the filthiest NBI director of all time. Number 2, bayaran mainstream media. Number 3, he hired all these dishonest influencers. And mind you, I need to say this. If you are one of those influencers that defended Martin Romualdez or went after CJ for her unbelievably good expose, if you went after it because of the length or because she used public records, or if you criticized her for using AI in that video, you can never ever say that you're pro-Philippines or anti-corruption. What CJ did so well in that episode, through her unbelievably good research, was that she sorted through all the public records, put it all together in a way that was digestible and entertaining for the general public, for the masses. Because everybody who knows anything about anything in politics knows that corruption is not simple. Corruption is complicated, it's multidimensional, it's multifaceted. And in order for you to be able to explain this to the masses, you need to present it in a way that the masses can absorb efficiently. That's what she did. And you guys went after it, said it was a waste of time, said that it was too long, said it was nothing new. Well, if it was nothing new, why didn't you guys say it before? Why? Instead, what happened was, you guys ended up covering for Martin. Now, none of us were born yesterday. We all know that Martin does not have a base of followers that loves him. He doesn't have the pinks like Lenny or the DDS like Sarah or the loyalists like BBM. He doesn't have that. We all know that if you are protecting, defending, or supporting Martin in any capacity, it's either because you're stupid as fuck, and there's very few of you, or because you're paid. Now, any of you that did air cover for Martin during that news cycle of CJ, I'll say it again. You can never in your lives, in your entire careers, say that you are pro-Philippines or anti-corruption, because we will always call you out for it. Always. Number 4. He created the biggest troll farm in the history of the Philippines. You know, the Philippines is the troll farm capital of the world. There are more troll farms in the Philippines than in Russia and Israel combined. Did you know that? And here in the Philippines, Martin Romualdez used his very deep resources to create the biggest one ever. And I'll admit, before I fixed it, before I solved that troll farm problem that he created for us, that troll farm was quite overwhelming. He needed to make sure that when this whole fake extortion thing blew up, that he controlled or at least had massive influence on the comment sections of every mainstream media outlet and every YouTube channel and every paid influencer channel. He wanted to make sure that he controlled the narrative thoroughly and meticulously. But the problem with that kind of scale is that it's very difficult to maintain. It's like sprinting through a marathon. It's very difficult to sustain. And I don't think you guys know how to do it yet. Number 5, this one I will say very carefully. One day, and this is after I beat you in court, after our case either gets dismissed or after I beat you fair and square, one day I will tell the world the truth about the fiscal that changed the inquest details, the time that we did the inquest in the NBI, all the way up to the resolution. I know what you did. One day the truth will come out. So, all those things combined, NBI director, paid mainstream media, bayaran influencers, biggest troll farm ever, and what you did to that fiscal, plus all the things that I'm hearing now behind the scenes. I hear that people in your camp have reached out to my personal friends and my professional colleagues, asking them to turn on me, asking them to basically lie under oath and commit perjury. I've heard that. You see, I think you've fully underestimated our capacity to get people to be loyal to us. But my goodness, you are a dirty man. Ang dumi-dumi mo, Martin. Oh, by the way, about NBI Director Matibag. You know, when I was in NBI custody, he pulled me into his office 3 times. The first one was just us, me and him. The second and the third were relayed through his chiefs of staff, or people that worked directly underneath him. So when it was just us the first time, I remember he pulled me to this office. He said exactly this. He goes, Franco, 20 years na tayo magkaibigan. We've been friends for 20 years. Read my mind. Read my mind. I want to cut a deal with you. Ilaglag mo lang si CJ Hero. Show me the video. Show me the video, and at best, I will make things easier for you. He said that 3 times. And 3 times I told him no. 3 times I said no. He thought that he put so much stress on me that I would actually be disloyal to a friend. You know, Melvin, I've known him for a long time. I don't think he's an evil person. I don't think he's a fundamentally bad person, but in terms of slimy, in terms of just being dirty, he's so far gone now. He's so far gone. That's the kind of soul that, in my opinion, is so irredeemable because he's crossed too many lines already. You know that the day after I was released from jail, the NBI director, Melvin Matibag, went on a podcast and said this on record. He said that after my arrest, 200 people called him to say that I extorted them. Liar. Fucking liar. NBI director, lying through your teeth. I've never extorted anybody in my entire life. I dare you, Melvin, my dear friend, I dare you to come out on TV and produce all those messages, all those numbers, verifiable either by WhatsApp, by Meta, by Facebook Messenger, by Telegram, by Globe Smart, etc., on those days where you said that they called you, that they reached out to you. I've never extorted anybody in my entire life. And the reason why you lied and said that 200 people reached out to you is because the case against me is weak as shit. And you know that. Martin's lawyers know that. And the reason why you had to lie was to prop up the case. Apart from that, you maliciously pushed this narrative to the whole world that you had a cyber warrant to open my phone. Why do I think you said that in a press conference and multiple interviews, that you could open my phone and check out all the conversations and look at the photos and videos, etc., etc.? I think it's because you wanted to make people feel that the NBI, although illegal, could leak certain photos, certain videos from my phone, conveniently leaving out the fact that you only had 10 days from the day of the arrest to look at all that information, and that nothing outside of the case itself is admissible in court. And you are very well aware that Martin Romualdez, your friend, has a multitude of trolls and operators operating on me and PGMN simultaneously. And you wanted them, in my opinion, to create fake conversations, fake messages, fake calls, fake photos, and fake videos and pretend that they were all leaked from my phone. Just to ruin my credibility because your pal Martin Romualdez knows we have more shit on him. In order for that dirt, that evidence, all those exposés that we have in Martin that were set up and planned, in order for them to lose credibility, you had to ruin ours. So you told the world that we have a warrant. And what happened since? A plethora of fraudulent bullshit. I'll give you an example. Look, these are all the things circulating online at the moment. This is a fake screenshot circulating online that is trying to make it seem like that I've reached out to somebody from the Romualdez camp. Okay, it says, hi there, it's Franco, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. This is fake, by the way. This conversation never happened. The person who made this fake screenshot, what they're trying to present or what they're trying to make you believe is that this was leaked from my cell phone after my phone was taken by the NBI. But I was arrested on May 5 when I was framed for extortion. If the insinuation here is that I reached out to Martin at the time, then why does it say today at the very top of the screenshot? That makes no sense. It's stupid. Number two, here's a fake screenshot that is trying to make it seem like I was having a conversation with CJ Hero. It says, Franco, the video is solid. I just need someone inside willing to sit down, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the message, it says, done, meeting set for the 22nd, Friday, March 20. I am 100% certain that on the weekend of March 20, all the way till past March 22, or on the day of March 22, I was in Hong Kong. That's easily verifiable. And these messages are easily disprovable. All the court has to do is reach out to Meta, and WhatsApp will give that information. Next, stupid ass AI picture of me. Looks fake. The guy in this picture is much more good looking, although that is my watch. But the picture's not real. Okay. All right, here's the worst one.
Sa lahat ng kanyang kontrobersya sa politika, ang isa sa mga dapat magkaroon ng hustisya ay ang mga rape victims na patuloy na binablackmail ni Franco. Dahil sa pera at kapangyarihan sa mga kilalang politiko, kaya ito patuloy na nakakatakas sa awtoridad. Isa sa mga biktimang babae nito, ang muntik ng mag-suicide dahil sa paulit-ulit nitong pananakot na patayin. Kaya wala kang maririnig na biktimang lumalaban kay Mapanta. Habang siya ay tagong sex addict, siya rin ay isang drug addict na kasama noon sa drug watch list sa panahon ng Pangulong Duterte. Pera at kapangyarihan ang dahilan, kaya tuloy-tuloy lang si Franco sa kanyang marumi at malaswang pamumuhay.
All right. Okay. This video falsely claims that there were rape victims. It showed explicitly pictures of those alleged rape victims. I will show you these pictures one by one. This is the first picture. Do you see this lady here next to me with the black bar in her eyes? This is an AI-generated image. This is the original photo. This is a picture of me with Vice President Sara Duterte and my good friend Karen Jimeno. The person who made this video, obviously to lie, to smear me, to smear my credibility just in time, by complete coincidence, during the time that I am going after Martin Romualdez. This person, whether male or female, created this video, stamped an AI woman onto Karen Jimeno while she's sitting beside the vice president, and then put a black bar in her eyes. Picture number two. This is a picture of me kissing a girl on the cheek. This is the original picture. The girl in the middle is my dear friend Roxanne Barcelo. The other guy is Gia Sky, the best man in my wedding. The three of us are really good friends. No rape victims here. The third, and this is the girl who in the video the narrator said was going to commit suicide because of blackmail. This is the picture in the video, and this is the original picture. That's Senator Grace Poe. As far as I know, not only is she alive, she's doing quite well. Fourth picture. This is the picture in the video, and this is the original. It's a fucking guy. It's my good friend, Jet Tolentino. This is how low this smear campaign is getting. This is the level of evil that they're willing to go down to. To fake rape allegations just to smear my name so that my credibility will be diminished as I am going after Martin Romualdez. Not only is that fucked up, not only is that immoral, that's straight up evil. That's evil. It came from this page. I want to call out the page explicitly, okay? This came from this page. The page is called Kabatak News. It has 102,000 followers. It's gone after Kiko Barzaga, Jingo Estrada, Alan Cayetano, Bato. Obviously, this entire page is leaning in one direction. As far as my lawyers have checked, it has a total of 16 completely defamatory, libelous, and untrue posts about me. If you look at the reactions, they are all trolls. If you look at the comments, they are all trolls. First of all, your PR fucking sucks. Number two, whoever is operating against me or whoever gave the instructions to operate against me, pakisabi naman kay galingan pa niya. Because she sucks. Furthermore, do you know why you cannot find any victims? Because there are none. I have always believed that apart from pedophilia, rape is the worst thing you can do to another person, even more than murder. Because I think that some people do deserve to die, but nobody deserves to be held down and raped. Nobody. And in my opinion, it absolutely deserves the death penalty. I also believe that any woman who is proven to have lied about being raped to hurt a man should absolutely be given the same punishment the man would have gotten if he was guilty, not only because an allegation this heinous was meant to ruin the innocent man's life, but because it makes it that much more difficult for real victims of rape to speak up when evil liars use the word falsely to weaponize it for the sake of jealousy, revenge, immaturity, ambition, or politics. Now, do you really think you can get away with this? Do you really think you can get away with a lie this egregious with no consequences? Do you really think I would let you just walk all over me like a doormat? My amazing legal team, I've never lost a case in my life, mind you, will absolutely, unequivocally, and mercilessly be filing civil and criminal charges against the horrible human beings that made these accusations, that made these false, baseless, and defamatory accusations. And I give you my word that I will not stop until I see you behind bars crying. You really want to stoop this low? You're willing to frame an innocent man who is already being framed for extortion by a dollar billionaire who is the most corrupt politician in the entire country, maybe ever. You want to frame him for something this egregious and this unforgivable. That's what you want? I guess some people are just built differently. Some people are just willing to cross certain lines. Yeah, but I'll fight you. I promise you. I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to let this go until I see you in jail. It's been 3 weeks since myself and 4 of my friends, now turned brothers, were framed for extortion and illegally arrested. It's been a little over 2 weeks since our release. It's been hard. Majority of my friends stayed. Well, the super majority of my friends stayed. You know, the people who I considered, really close, good friends, they stayed. They were loyal. They knew that if roles were reversed, that I would do the same for them in a heartbeat. But I lost a few. I lost people like James Deacon and Anu Banzano. That hurt. It hurt because they were my real friends, and I don't blame them. They were assessing the situation based on incomplete information because I couldn't give them the full context of the story because I was legally disallowed from doing so. So they felt betrayed, and I was left in a position where I couldn't explain to them thoroughly what happened. Yeah, that sucked. My kids have had to quit school, who was diagnosed with breast cancer 3 weeks before I got arrested. Her cancer has since spread to her liver because she can't handle the stress from my case. And so many others, so many other people who are close to me got hurt or devastated financially, reputationally, in terms of credibility, in terms of, emotional trauma, simply because of their association with me. These are people who stood up for me throughout the years. They got hurt. A lot of people got hurt. Martin doesn't care about any of that stuff. He doesn't care about the collateral damage of innocent people. He just wants to survive. Remember, he never cared in the slightest about all those folks who died because of the flood control corruption. The guy doesn't have a soul. This current situation where so many good people I care about got hurt, I can't even begin to elaborate on the immensity of the fuck that Martin Romualdez does not give. Martin will cross the reddest of the red lines if it means him staying out of prison. I've also been grieving the loss of something very personal to me, something I love, something beautiful that Martin Romualdez felt he had to destroy to save himself. It mean the world to me. If you know me, you know that the four letters represented my comeback story, my newfound sobriety, my redemption, my new mission in life. PGMN represents the embodiment of everything I am good at, where at the same time I could elevate and nurture the people I truly love and care for. Martin wrecked it. He didn't kill it, but he sure as shit damaged it. You know, you brought me to my knees several times in the last 3 weeks, Martin. And because of that, I had to wrestle with two conflicting ideas. One is that I seriously considered reaching out to you to wave the white flag. I wanted to reach out to you through a common friend and say, please relay this to Martin. Martin, bugbog na kami. Because of all the people that got hurt, because of everything that I lost, and I want a ceasefire. I was seriously considering saying, I won't post about you anymore, I won't reveal any more of your corruption or any more of your crimes, and I will destroy all the evidence. And then the other option was to go all out and come after you. Nothing in between. It was just really one or the other. You see, I wasn't just an atheist for 21 years. I was a militant atheist. I started talking to God again around 9 months ago when too many good things were happening to me after finally getting sober. I realized in the most pleasant capacity that there were too many minor miracles and a couple of major ones for me to just arrogantly assume that everything good that was happening to me was happening only because of me. And I found the concept of surrendering all that good stuff back to the power who gave it to me to be absolutely beautiful. I found the idea to be wise. I got reacquainted with God on the way up. And recently, I got to know him on the way down. As I reflect on these profound truths, I'm reminded that the path of righteousness is rarely the easiest, echoing the timeless wisdom that to truly live is to carry our cross, however heavy it may be, however hurtful it may be. It's a journey not defined by the absence of pain, but by a real courage to face it, to choose integrity even when the cost is great. In doing so, we discover not only our deepest strength, but also the deepest transformative power of a life lived with purpose and conviction. The ordeal brought me back to God, not gently, violently. It reignited a faith that had been dormant, almost dead for 2 decades. And as I wrestled with whether to surrender or fight, I kept returning to the same question. What would my Lord want me to do? The answer was never unclear. It was just costly. So, Martin, I've decided. Not only will I carry this cross, I will embrace it. Because what defines a man is not the absence of struggle. It's how much weight he can bear on his shoulders, how many wounds he can absorb without buckling to fear. And as this fight unfolds, I am walking into it with one certainty. Jesus has me, which means I'm coming for you. Oh, and you might win. You are a dollar billionaire after all, sitting on the darkest secrets, and desperation makes you dangerous. I know that. But I promise to expose you every step of the way. I promise you the full force of arguably one of this generation's best political strategists, and certainly the best social media strategist for politics right now, with our industry's best political talents, aimed squarely and honestly at everything you are. And if you somehow miraculously never see the inside of a prison cell, I promise you this: you will spend the rest of your life as a man every Filipino knows to be without integrity. You will not like me when this is over. But Martin, I promise you will respect me. You brought me to my knees, but you should have finished the job because I don't stay down. Throughout my life, I have survived national hate and thrived. I have survived untrue accusations and thrived. I have survived a crippling cocaine addiction that lasted nearly 20 years and thrived. You think I'm a normal man? I am not. I can absorb a tsunami of lies and hate directly to the chest and feel nothing, especially when I know I'm right. Every single time I fell in my life, I got back up. I did it as a fat, broken, godless drug addict. What do you think I can do now that I'm fully sober, in the best shape of my life, with Jesus running through my veins? You picked the wrong person to choose to silence, Martin. Also, I don't think this is going to be as difficult as people think. Because you're not a good person. And everybody hates you. I'll even tell you what I'm going to do. I'll even lay out my strategy. Because you won't be able to do anything about any of them. Expose on you that got 1 million views on YouTube before you took it down, and well over 5 million on Facebook. So what happened there is you asked ABS-CBN to hit that episode with multiple copyright strikes so that YouTube would take it down. So you did. You hit us with one copyright strike. YouTube took it down. We appealed it. We won. YouTube put it back up. You hit it with another copyright strike. We appealed it again. We won again. YouTube put it back up. The third time, YouTube finally took down the video as it just broke 1 million views for that specific news cycle. This was so clearly disingenuous and malicious. The clips from other mainstream media outlets all the time. We do it within context. We properly source everything. We cite our sources correctly. We make sure that it's always used respectfully and correctly. And in our year and a half that we've been doing this, throughout 150 episodes, we have never been called out for copyright restriction. Yet this time, the first time, the time that we go after Martin Romualdez, we suddenly get hit by a copyright restriction. We all know that it's not about the copyright restriction. We know that this happened because Martin Romualdez has a relationship with ABS-CBN. And because you can't get us taken down on Facebook, you now have your little puppy dogs at Billionario send us a cease and desist. I expect that kind of behavior from Billionario because they're, the people that run that company, they're dishonorable. ABS-CBN, really? You're protecting Martin? We were exposing his corruption. We were exposing how he manipulated not billions, tens of billions from Congress so that he could pocket them and so that his cronies could pocket them. And you end up protecting him? Really? I'm really disappointed. I don't know if that means anything to you, but for what it's worth, a lot of us are disappointed in you guys. We thought you were better. We thought you were better than Billionario. Yeah, but anyway, what we're going to do is that 2-hour expose, we've now condensed it into 50 minutes, 50 minutes, where we've removed all possible copyright violations or copyright claims that any media company can throw against us. It's actually made the episode better because now the episode is just hard hitting, it's punch after punch. It now exposes in a rapid pace how you undeniably stole all that money from Congress. It's actually, you actually made the episode better. And we will release that episode, the 50-minute episode, on all of our platforms, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, X, etc., right after we release this episode. And you can't do anything about it. And all the influencers and mainstream media outlets are fake journalists that were saying that episode was a waste of time. If it was really a waste of time, why is it that Martin went out of his way to make sure that got taken down? Relentlessly, unrelentingly, he went out of his way to make sure that trolls hit it, mass reported it, trolls in the comment section, reached out to ABS-CBN to hit it with copyright claims, reached out to Billionaire to send a cease and desist. If it really was nothing, why are you guys so paranoid? And why was there such a ridiculous sense of urgency to make sure that less people saw it? That's because your claim is horseshit. That's because no one does better journalistic research than CJ Hero. And that's because if people begin understanding what Martin did in Congress through that expose video that CJ did, it would really damage Martin. It's a kind of virality that would make an impact in the real world. It's a big reason why you went after us. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Right after this episode, it gets dropped. Number 2, and moving forward, yes, we will cover all the other things. Politics, geopolitics, health and fitness, wellness, sports, technology, all the stuff that PGMN is known for. But I have made the decision to ascertain that 1/3 to half of all PGMN content moving forward will be about explaining your crimes to the entire country. We are going to turn PGMN into the Bible, into the manual that comprehensively explains in detail what you did to each and every Filipino. All of your crimes, every single one, in every format. Reels, long-form videos, podcasts, carousels, articles, article links, photo carousels, everything. We're going to make sure that everything that has been said about you, from politicians, from PGMN anchors, from normal citizens, from people in the business sector, from people who are your enemies, to people that used to work with you, everything. We're going to explain in detail how you've been corrupt, how you are a criminal, and why you deserve to be punished. And when I say that we're going to explain everything about you, initially, we're first going to focus on the things that we think the Ombudsman already knows about you. We're going to make sure that it's translated and communicated properly to the entire country so everybody knows what you did. And then after that, we're going to reveal to the country what no one else apart from PGMN knows about you. We do that stuff really well. And to be specific, what do I mean by this? To be clear, as I said earlier, we have undeniably impacted culture. We have consistently influenced legislation. We have gotten so many corrupt government officials fired or to resign, and we have literally altered election results. Apart from Rodrigo Duterte in 2016 and the pink tsunami in 2022, in my opinion, there has been no political social media entity that has been more quantifiably persuasive than PGMN. And we will use all of that talent, that machinery, that strategy, that grit, that God-given skill, and that pain-fueled fire to show the world every minute of every day exactly the kind of man you are. And we will do it honorably, no lies. And I promise you, Martin, you will feel it. Number 3, solved your troll farm. You had initially, right after we got out of prison, by my estimation, about 25,000 accounts. It was large, like a very large troll farm. By my estimation, you had a couple of hundred people operating maybe a couple of hundred accounts. And I'll admit, they really packed a punch. It was quite overwhelming initially. All we had to do was hire 10 people and create a department called Block and Delete, where all they were doing all day was just finding your accounts and blocking and deleting them. It worked very well because it takes a long time for a troll to make an account. You gotta make an email address, make the Facebook page, put the information in there, put the picture, et cetera, et cetera. Well, on our end, all we had to do was click one button and that account gets blocked along with every other account that that email could possibly make. So if each of my 10 people block 500 people each per day, which was, quite quick, that would mean we were blocking 5,000 accounts a day, and then in a week we went through your entire troll farm, and it worked. I think that your troll farm operator got very frustrated about this. After we had decimated your troll farm, about a week later, I think your operator created 30,000 more. It could be more, it could be less, it could be more, I'm not sure. But by my estimation, there were 30,000 new accounts. I didn't expect you to go that hard, to go that ham. But I guess, I should have expected it because you're desperate, and you've got a lot of money. So what did we do? We created an AI tool that eliminates the troll farms. For the first time in Philippine history, an AI tool was created at about 97 to 99% accuracy that can identify specific trolls based on specific aspects that I will not reveal to you. And what it does is it just eliminates these trolls at breakneck speed. We've solved your shit. So what I'm trying to say is, send your trolls over. Send all of them. Send 100,000 of them. We're happy to go head to head. Strategy number 4 to beat Martin Romualdez. This one I'm quite excited about. As I mentioned earlier, I don't speak Tagalog very well. I know how to speak it, but I don't read it very well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use AI for this specific reason. So I'm going to read these things about you, okay? And then watch what's going to happen. Former House Speaker Martin Romualdez is facing a sprawling corruption case centered on an alleged 56 billion kickback scheme tied to ghost flood control projects in Leyte, his own home district. Sinampahan siya ng ombudsman ng plunder, bribery, money laundering, at graft bilang mastermind. 5 beses na lumaki ang pondo sa flood control sa kanyang distrito noong siya ay speaker at napunta ang mga kontrata sa SunWest at Hightone.
一名前安保助理在宣誓作证时表示，现金是直接送到他在福布斯公园的家中的。法律后果已经变得非常具体，他的资产已被上诉法院冻结，包括价值 16.65 亿的地产和25个银行账户。Y el Sandiganbayan le ha prohibido salir del país después de que intentara volar a Singapur justo cuando Saldico fue capturado en Europa. Su defensa de que Saldico fue quien tomó las decisiones presupuestarias y no él fue respondida por el ombudsman con una simple frase: vuelve a la facultad de derecho. À partir de mai 2026, des accusations de détournement de fonds devraient être officiellement déposées devant le Sandigan Bayan de façon imminente, une affaire de blanchiment d'argent étant traitée en premier. Les entités corporatives qui lui sont liées, Mark Ventures, Bright Kindle et Prime Media, sont également sous surveillance. En résumé, il ne peut pas partir. Son argent est gelé et les procureurs ne s'arrêtent pas.
So what does this entail? Well, these AI language models are quite common in social media these days. But in 6 weeks, PGMN will be the only company in the world, we checked, that'll have the capacity to convert everything we say into all the local major dialects. I'm talking about Bisaya, Bicolano, Ilocano, Waray, etc. Now, if you're sitting at home watching this from Ilocos, Cebu, or Davao, now you feel like you're part of the conversation. For the first time in Philippine news history, the majority of Filipinos will feel like they don't have to adjust to the news emanating from Imperial Manila. Now, all the damning evidence, all the blistering commentary, all the opinions and revelations hurled against you, Martin, by every PGMN anchor, every politician, every public figure, and every citizen of this country won't just be communicated in English or Tagalog, but communicated to every Filipino in a manner they fully understand. Because every Filipino deserves to know what you did to them. It will be the highest form of cultural inclusivity for news that the Philippines has ever seen. Lastly, strategy number 5. We have more dirt on you. No one in this country is a better researcher than my friend. She's the best journalist in the country. Why? Because if you amalgamate, if you interweave research with writing the script and then performing it on camera, she is a one of one. There is nobody else like her. I really want to tell you what she found, but I won't. I'll let her do it. So those 5 strategies, that's just the stuff that I can reveal to you. Martin, by framing me for extortion, not only did you make things personal, you put me in a situation where I have to fight. What did you think was going to happen? Now I'd like pinks and the yellows. I know that we have not gotten along historically over the years. Sorry. I know that most of you are reasonable. I saw many of you rallying in Mindiola or in EDSA Shrine. There were thousands of you then. We all want the same thing in terms of corruption. And before you feel like I'm your enemy in this situation, let me just remind you what Martin Romualdez did. Romualdez butchered the national budget. He crippled multiple government agencies. He encouraged the disgusting flamboyance within the House that he led. He befriended the villains associated with the communist terrorists. He attempted to abolish the Senate. He weaponized government funds during a democratic election cycle. He caused a dangerous divide between Congress and the armed forces. He alienated almost the entire Philippine South. He engineered what's being widely alleged as the most creative and efficient corruption blueprint of all time. And so many people literally died from the flood control corruption. What are we even talking about? All in the name of appeasing the ambition and abuse of a tubby House Speaker. Even Risa Hontiveros has said that Martin Romualdez should at least answer the flood control allegations. To former Vice President and current Naga City Mayor Lenny Robredo, I know that, there have been times I've been unfair to you, and for that I'm sorry. I got married 2 months ago, and I had 5 senators that were my ninongs. One of them is very close to you. And he told me in private that about a year ago, before BM and Martin had their falling out, that you refused to be the candidate in 2028 to go up against Sarah because allegedly, and I don't know if this is true, but this is what was told to me, because allegedly at that time, one of the conditions was that Martin Romualdez be excluded from receiving any punishments. And your response was no. You turned down the offer to be their presidential candidate because para sa'yo, kailangan may managot. I don't know how accurate that story is because the senator who said it to me doesn't like Martin in the same way I don't like Martin. But if it's true, that was cool. That was fucking cool. You have my respect. I mean that sincerely. To the DDS, I don't think I need to get you guys to hate Martin more than you already do. But let me just remind you of something very pivotal here. You won in 2022 with 30 million votes, the most of all time. With that kind of political capital, with that kind of mandate, with BBM and Sarah winning with record numbers back in 2022, the amount of change and improvement and development and growth that this country could have seen with that much political capital would have been breathtaking. It would have been unprecedented. It was unprecedented. And right now, where are we? We're in the state that we're in. The country is in disarray. Economy is messed up. Education is a clusterfuck. Tourism is down. And we're all fighting each other. Who caused that? Do you remember? Do you remember who caused that divorce between BBM and Sarah? Because it wasn't them. They were good. They were so fond of each other in the beginning. It was Martin. Martin has an undeniable track record of betraying people so that they turn on each other. I'll give you facts, okay? First, former President Gloria Arroyo, his mentor, the person who trained him in Congress. When she was supposed to be House Speaker, Martin threw her under the bus, made sure BBM and her had a huge falling out just to ascertain that he would become Speaker of the House. He betrayed his mentor, that's Gloria Arroyo. Number two, he betrayed BBM's sister, Amy, because he wanted to make sure that Amy stopped giving advice that would be detrimental to Martin to BBM. So what did he do? He made sure to get in the way, talk shit about Amy, BBM listened, and then there was the wildest falling out between the two siblings. Insane. That was Martin too. Number three, he betrayed Sarah. He was Sarah's campaign manager, right? Or so he said. What happened afterwards? Martin wanted to become president in 2028. He said, his mentor, Gloria Arroyo, always said that the presidency is destiny. And Martin looked at her and said, no, the presidency is man-made. Because he has this preposterous, delusional, ridiculous, like disgusting levels of ambition. He wanted to be all powerful. He wanted to be president in 2028. And he knew in order for that to happen, he needed to get Sarah out of the way. So what did he do? He intentionally made sure that Sarah and BBM were separated and eventually divorced. And it was one of the ugliest, nastiest president-vice presidential wars we've seen, probably the worst one ever. That was Martin too. And what was Martin's weapon of choice against Sarah? How did he begin the media and political black ops against Sarah in a way that he knew would stick? Do you know? Can you take a guess? The confidential funds was Martin Romualdez's idea. How? Why did he think of that? As you all know, Martin is the engineer or the architect of the most efficient corruption blueprint of all time. I said this many times in this piece. Apart from being efficient, he's super creative in terms of corruption. Martin looks at corruption with no restraint, with no soul, with no conscience. He views corruption quite obviously as like this Olympic level sport where he's like the gold medalist, where he's like the world record holder. And because of that, he found so many creative and admittedly brilliant ways to steal. If we're talking about flood control, MOOE, the gold reserves, any of that stuff. Martin was so good at leaving no stone unturned. CJ Hero's episode Purposefully, she explains there how he even took the salaries of the janitors in Congress.
Mga janitor, security. Wow! From 214.96 million pesos noong 2022, tinaas ang budget para dito to 425 million pesos in 2025. Excuse me po, 130 million lang ang pinakamataas na ginastos ninyo dyan according to COA, and that was in 2023. Why then did they add 175 million pesos para sa 2025? Kahit tapatan pa natin ang pinakamalaking nagastos dyan na 130 million pesos. Dagdagan pa natin ng 10 million pesos dahil election year 2025. Baka kinailangan ninyo ng tagalinis pati ng mga konsensya ninyo. 425 minus 140. May 285 million pesos pa na sosobra. Magkano po ang sweldo ninyo dyan, mga janitor, mga security sa Kongreso? Alam ko po, naka-agency kayo. Pero mga ma'am, mga sir, kayang-kaya hong doblehin ang sweldo ninyo dyan dahil may budget for it. Naramdaman niyo po ba yon? Sana man lang po, naambutan Sana man lang po naambunan kayo ng budget na yan kasi meron po, may pera. Pati janitor, security, kinukupitan pa. Grabe na nga yung trabaho ng mga tao na yan. Gago. Napakagago ho.
Wild, unbelievable greed. So because of Martin's unparalleled understanding of how money moves within government, right? Of how money moves within politics and how to cover his ass while he's stealing. He knew that the confidential funds of Sarah, because there's confidential funds in multiple government agencies and offices all across the country, and he knows that that aspect is unreceipted. That he knows that a lot of that expenditure is not audited, at least not traditionally in the government sense. So he knew that if he called that out, it would look dirty, right? It would look dirty. Now, whether or not those confidential funds were actually used in a dirty way by Sarah is not the point. Martin used that aspect, he used that characteristic to make it look like Sarah was undeniably stealing. But he didn't do it altruistically. He didn't do it to save the day. Martin did it because he wanted to get Sara Duterte out of the way for 2028. Because in his mind, now that he had all the influence as Speaker of the House, now that he was stealing all those billions of pesos and eventually billions of dollars, he felt that if he got the Vice President out of the way, he would have a clear path towards Malacanang in 2028. That's what he did. And then after that, what did he do? He betrayed his cousin, betrayed the president, betrayed GMA, betrayed IME, betrayed Sarah, and then betrayed BBM. Imagine that, betraying the hand that feeds you. Martin has so many billions of, not pesos, dollars now. And then right after, what does he do? The moment it became inconvenient for him to maintain his alliance with BBM because nahuli na siya for all the corruption, he then betrays BBM. That's the kind of person Martin Romualdez is. That's the kind of human being he is. He's a piece of shit. He's terribly disloyal. You know, I wish I could tell you that it was Martin's idea to send PRRD to The Hague. I wish I could tell you, but I don't know. I don't know for sure, and I want to maintain full honesty in this piece. But what I can say with absolute certainty is that because of that succession of betrayals that he inflicted against former President Arroyo, current Senator Aimee, current Vice President Sara, and current President BBM, we are in this apocalyptic, thoroughly disheartening, close to hopeless situation. That was him. Yeah, so fuck that guy. To Vice President Sara, ma'am, we're not close. I've only met you a couple of times. I am friends with your brother, your younger brother, Basta. He's a good guy. But I want to let you know that your dad was my favorite president. And you are easily the most resilient human being I've ever met in my entire life. So whatever happens, I wish you good luck. I mean that sincere. I plead to the Marcos loyalists. I'll just direct this to the President and First Lady. To President Bongbong Marcos and First Lady Lisa Marcos, I don't care what Claire Castro said about me.
Hindi po siya kaibigan ng Pangulo?
And I hope this is okay, but I will refer to you, as I always did, as Tito Bonget and Tita Lisa. I hope this doesn't embarrass you. You know, you weren't just my clients, you were my friends. And knowing you, I can imagine that you're watching this right now, looking at the screen, thinking, look at this fucking kid getting into trouble again. I hope I can speak candidly. I'll just speak freely. I hope that's okay. I think most Filipinos today, from Luzon through to Mindanao, believe that the Marcos ship isn't just sinking. I think that they believe that it's already at the bottom of the ocean. And that we all have to wait for 2028 for some kind of political tsunami to emerge from the left or from the south, for any substantive systemic change to manifest. Most Filipinos have chosen to give up, to despair, and to view our national circumstances as inescapable and hopeless, as just another thing yet again that needs to be sucked up. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to kneel to the idea of hopelessness because I know you, Mr. President. I know you. I'll share two things. I have two very close friends who are two of your fiercest critics. The first one is Attorney Rowena Guanzon, former COMELEC commissioner, former COA commissioner, running for senator in 2028. She's a dear friend. I really wish people got to know her the way I did because I think most people see her as this feisty, angry pit bull, but she's actually a really amazing human being. Rowena, who has been fearlessly attacking your administration for quite a while now, said on record, on SMNI, on camera, said that she will stop criticizing you if you hand over Martin's head on a silver platter to the Filipino people. She said that on TV. And sorry, just to be clear, she meant that obviously metaphorically, because you know how NBI Director Matibag might file some stupid ass cases again by taking the shit literally. No, she meant it metaphorically. She meant it figuratively, that if Martin meets justice, she will stop criticizing the Marcos administration. My other friend, the second friend, is Congressman Kiko Barzaga, also one of your fiercest critics. He told me privately, in all seriousness, and I'm paraphrasing horribly here, so I hope I get this correctly, but he told me, this is the gist of it, and this is accurate, that he told me that if Martin Romualdez is put in prison, that he's happy to make amends to the Marcoses. Now, I don't know if my other friends like Mayor Basta Duterte or former Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy would feel the same way, because I think, you know, some people, many people, their anger towards this administration is at a point of no return. But what I can guarantee you is that there are millions of Filipinos that will share the same sentiments as Rowena and Kiko, that they will feel, or at the very most, at peace, and at the very least, accepting and filled with faith that you are capable of doing the right. I mean, think about all those people your dad was good to. Your dad. I mean, all those people that he was really good to in the 70s, but who ultimately betrayed him in the end. How did that make you feel as a young man, sir? Did you wish karma on them then? Did you wish that they met divine justice? Well, currently, you have the chance to bring legal and moral justice to the man who betrayed you. The man who betrayed PGMA, Aimee, Sarah, you, and perhaps most importantly, Sandro. And you know, he fucked the whole country too. So as you stand on the shoulders of your father, feeling the inspiring pressure of a moment that took a preposterous and unfair 40 years to come to fruition, I want to admit to you, with a genuine humility, sir, that I once believed in you possibly more than anyone. And I want to remind you that although the country is where it is, there are still those who believe in you right now, free of any fear, shame, or financial transactionality. They simply believe in you because of how they remember you before all this. For any feelings that have been hurt now or in the past, especially towards the First Lady, I am sorry. I mean that sincerely. Good luck, Mr. President. Good luck, my dear old friend. To Martin Romualdez. So you can't do shit like this. In whichever language, you cannot talk to the people directly. Why? I hear once upon a time you were quite charming in person. But I heard our common friend, Attorney Sal Panelo, say that you're different now. You're not like this happy Jollibee character anymore. You're more reserved, more quiet. There's a bit of gloom hanging over your head. You're melancholy though. I suppose, and I'm just guessing here, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm just presuming that it's because your testosterone is now low from the anxiety and depression you're feeling because of your current situation. You're probably inflamed because of, poor eating habits. It's made you physically and psychologically frail. It's made your manhood brittle. So you're not charming anymore. And you were never charming on camera or on stage anyway. You were never charismatic. And you were certainly never relatable. But here's the most critical reason you can't talk to the people directly. You were never honest. When you speak, no one really listens. Or if they do, they don't believe you. And it's not just you, it's all of you in the Romualdez orbit. Your lawyers, your staff, your PR, your Bayaran influencers, everyone around Martin Romualdez. None of you have ever been honest people. This is a sentiment shared not by the minority of Filipinos, not by the average Filipino, not by majority of Filipinos, and not even by the super majority of Filipinos. You not being an honest human being is a fact known by every Filipino. And that's why if you cut through the noise in the comment sections, if you remove all the trolls, if you do a cross scan, removing all the accounts that were created a week ago with 0 posts, 0 followers, 0 profile pictures, if you remove all that stuff, you see the comments of people overwhelmingly siding with us, overwhelmingly siding with PGMN. It's because no one likes you. No one believes you. And the biggest difference between you and me, and I don't know if you're a religious man or not, so I don't know if this will land, but it means something to me, so I'll say it anyway. The biggest difference between you and me is that I can sit in silence anytime and pray to God for justice. Because in this case, where you framed me for extortion, I am innocent. You, on the other hand, you cannot pray for justice. Because everyone knows definitively and without question that you are a plunderer. And that people literally died because of the obscene wealth that you stole, particularly within the context of the monumental flood control bullshit that you masterminded. You can pray to God for mercy and forgiveness, but you cannot pray for justice. Because every time you ask the Lord to help you get through this unprecedented clusterfuck that you now find yourself in, you know as well as I do that not only thousands, but millions of your countrymen will simultaneously be praying for you to get exactly what you deserve. And who do you think God will listen to? You can't beat me by asking for help from God. You can't beat me by ruining my credibility, by paying Billionario and other dishonest entities to lie about me. You can't beat me by shaming me. One, because that stuff doesn't affect me. I don't care about that shit. And two, because every smart person can see through the black ops, knows you're behind it all, and at the end of the day, no one in the country has a worse reputation than you. To beat me, in my mind, you only have two options: bribery and violence. The whole country knows how unequivocally willing you are to cross one of those two lines. The question is, how willing are you to cross the other? Are you willing to kill me? Because, motherfucker, I finally understand my purpose now. I am in a situation that's basically do or die. We all know that. I didn't plan this. But circumstances have pushed me into a fight that very few people are willing to take on. In the past, I was always more of an operator, a kingmaker in the background. But now history has placed me at the front line. And I don't know. Maybe that's exactly why I was put here. Because I know how people like you operate. I know the system from the inside and intimately. I understand the game, the personalities, the weaknesses, the ulterior motives, the machinery behind everything. Also, I'm talented. A statement elevated not by ego, but by track record. In many ways, that makes me one of the few people actually capable of fighting this war properly. In my eyes, this is no longer just about politics. This is about the future of the Philippines as well, and the kind of country the next generation will inherit, including my two sons. A friend I trust and admire very much told me that I'm at a stage in life where legacy becomes real. He said years from now, my sons will either look back and say, my dad stood and fought for the country even when it was dangerous and difficult. Or they will remember that I walked away from the very mission that life unexpectedly placed in front of me. That friend said that he honestly believes this responsibility was bestowed upon me for a reason, and that the timing is not accidental either. When I just rediscovered the Lord, this enormous task suddenly entered my life. Maybe God allowed that because he knew I would need strength far beyond politics, strategy, or influence. So, Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, are you willing to kill me? Because I know my purpose now. The biggest problem of the Philippines has always been corruption. The most corrupt Filipino politician of the 21st century is you, Martin Romualdez. Yours is the kind of breathtaking greed and corruption that literally kills. And my purpose is to not stop until I see justice is done to you. I want to let you know that I'm willing to die for that purpose. I want to look the villain billionaire in the face and say enough is enough. Enough of you, enough of the system that you created, enough with all your corruption. I want my 5-year-old son Sebi and my 3-year-old son Leighton to look back at these decisions when they're older and see the kind of man their dad was. All right, so before we move on, so to everybody just watching this, follow PGMN because this is going to be the wildest journey of our lives. Follow PGMN as we embark on taking down the most powerful and most corrupt politician of our generation, certainly of the 21st century. And it's dangerous. We're literally in real danger. So you're probably going to enjoy this. And then also help us, like buy our merch, buy our shirts, and to the billionaires watching, the billionaires, senators, Congress folks, the tycoons. Many of you know who I am personally. I never asked for financial assistance before because we didn't need to, but I'm currently up against a monetary Goliath. I know many of you want the same thing the rest of the country does, to make sure that Martin Romualdez finally meets justice. If you would like to partake in this noble mission, please find me. Many of you know how to reach me confidentially. If you don't know me, ask around about me. Cut through the noise from all the troll accounts in the comments or from the losers on Reddit who've literally achieved nothing in their lives. Ask around about me and you will find much more people, especially in government and in politics, who will say that I am a good man and that I am trustworthy than those who say I am not. I need your help. This is a war I cannot win alone. In conclusion, I've spent the last 3 weeks trying to make sense of all this. The arrests, the betrayal, the headlines, the silence of people I thought would never go quiet. And what I keep arriving at every single time is this. None of it happened to me by accident. The addiction that nearly killed me didn't break me. The cancellations didn't erase me. And Martin Romualdez, with all his billions and all his darkness, will not bury me. Because I was not built for comfort. I was built exactly for this ugly, painful, necessary moment in our country's history where someone has to stand in the gap and refuse to move. I didn't choose this fight, but I will finish it. Not out of anger and certainly not out of ego, but because the Philippines deserves at least one more person who looked the most powerful criminal in the room directly in the eye and did not blink. I think about Sebi and Leighton constantly. My 5-year-old and my 3-year-old who have no idea what their father is going through right now or why. And I have made peace with the fact that they may not understand any of this for many years, but someday they will. Someday they will. And when that day comes, I want the record to show clearly, irrefutably, and with the full weight of everything I am, that their father knew what was right, knew what it would cost, and did it anyway. That is the only legacy that matters to me now. Not the views, not the virality, not the victory even. Just the knowledge that I stood where I was supposed to stand, carried what I was supposed to carry, and walked where God told me to walk. That's enough. That has always been enough. The storm I face ahead will be messy and challenging, but I am not afraid because I have faith that Jesus is walking by my side and he is not walking by yours. Martin Romualdez, I will see you in court. My name is Franco Mabanta and I am proudly PGMN.
Welcome to the show.
Bakit tila sa kamera, dito mismo sa Senado at sa ilang media ay hindi pa din nila kayang sambitin ang pangalan niya? Pues, sasabihin ko, Martin Romualdez.
Martin Romualdez.
Martin Romualdez.
House Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Martin Romualdez and Yeda Marie Romualdez. Together, they ran that committee like a sindicato.
Now let us address the most absurd accusation of all, that I am supposedly the mastermind of this corruption scheme. How can I be the mastermind?
Yung mga tao talagang nagkakaisa na ilabanan na mapanagot yung mga officials natin na sangkot sa corruption. Which is dapat lang dahil matagal na tayong nagtitiis.
Bakit paulit-ulit lumalabas ang pangalan ni Martin Romualdez?
Pareho kayo na ina-identify nyo na siya mismo yung kaharap ninyo na sinasabing ang may-ari ng bahay, si Speaker Romualdez, at kailangang umalis na kayo?
Tama po yun. Tama po.
Good job, Ombudsman Boying Remulla. Thumbs down ang travel ni Martin Luther King Romualdez. Pag nakaalis yan, hindi na yan babalik.
Bakit niya tinatago? Diba, yun nga yung gusto ng Pilipino na makita paano ba ginagawa niyo dyan sa mga pera namin.
One way or another, he will go down. And I will make sure you all go down with him.
On behalf of the entire Philippines, fuck Martin Romualdez.